first episode of the 162 Experience. Hey, this is a show about success in business, sports, and life. And I've got my great buddy. He's quickly becoming my best friend. And I'm going to ask our guest today, who's your best friend and how many best friends do you really have? But I'm going to go over to my cohort today, Benito. Benito, thanks for co-hosting the show with me.
Hey guys, how you doing? This is going to be an awesome show today. We are live from San Diego, California. I'm excited. This is going to be the 162 Experience. We're pumped up. We're going to be talking about a couple of cool things today. March Madness. We got guests in the house. It's just going to be an awesome show. Steve, I'm excited to be a partner with you, and this is going to be a rocking show.
Absolutely. For those of you that don't know me, I was a communications major in Flagler College. I was the number one student the year that
Flagler?
It's in St. Augustine, Florida. Thank you. You didn't know where that was? We almost made the UNCAA tournament back in 1941, actually. I was the voice of the Saints, Benito, and I was the PA announcer. Welcome to Flagler College basketball. That was me. And I've always had a dream to have some sort of a podcast or radio show. It wasn't a podcast until recently, so this is what we're doing. It's a lifelong dream, and I would say it was late July or early August of last year, I walked into the Tilted Kilt downtown, and there was this huge dude in there, about 6'5", 6'6", 250, and he was the only thing between me and watching the Yankees that day. For the life of me, I couldn't get anybody in that establishment to turn the Yankees game on. And so, Benito, that's how we met originally. I'll throw it over to you.
Now, I have no problem when people come in and they ask for games on, which I love. You want to meet these sports fans, want to find out what their passions are, what games they like, what's going on. And you know what? When you're in the middle of the season or the beginning of the season, there's so many games going on. And I had this guy come in who I found out was Steve eventually and asking for the Yankees game. And the weird thing is, I hardly ever have people come in asking about East Coast teams, AL East. And so eventually I turned the TVs on for him because, just get that little bug in your ear. And I'm like, hey, dude, I got you. Just give me a couple minutes.
Well, my thing is I'm not going to order because I've ordered beer and food before, and then they find out they can't get the game on, and now I've got to pay and finish my drink and then go now find a new place. And just so you know, Benito, I had called earlier in the day and talked to one of the girls and answered the phone just to clarify that the game was on. In fact, I actually made her go turn it on. And she didn't really take a picture and text it to me, but she confirmed that the game would be on. So just a little background for you.
Well, we had the Yes Network, so I'm glad we got the games for you. So what happened was, saw this guy come in. He was talking about the Yankees game. Needed to have the games on. Finally turned it on, and then this just kept happening every day, every couple of days during the week. And I'm like, yeah, this dude just comes in watching the Yankees game. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. He's a sports fan, So we started to get to know him, just asking questions like, how did you become a Yankees fan? Are you from New York? Just random stuff we'd ask, just out and about when I had a couple minutes. And I'm like, hey, how are you? How is this possible? You're coming in basically every day watching the Yanks, and I just felt like I was like, man, this is a sports guy. I just had to get to know him, and
Well, I think what happened was the second time we met. Actually, I brought you a copy of my book, 162. And that's really when, the second time we met, we talked about doing a podcast. Second time we met, so it was about 9 months later. We originally wanted to launch it in September, which became October, which became, down the road. And finally, we just bought all the podcasting equipment. When I spend a lot of money, for those that know me, I'm pretty cheap. And we wanted to get our money's worth out of it. So here we are. And just to set the tone a little bit, Benito, we've got Robert. Robert's... he wants to be called the producer, I believe is what we're going to be referring to Robert as. Originally he was the sound tech, but he got promoted before the first episode, so congratulations, Robert. And then we've got Kim Melia is our guest, and we're going to be interviewing her in a few minutes. But Kim, would you like to say hello to the audience?
Hey, what's going on?
All right, Kim.
Kim, do you have a word of the year? I know every year you pick a word. Do you have a word this year?
Yes.
That's your word? Yes? That's amazing. I love it.
I'm going to say yes to everything.
Oh, guys, you hear that? Look her up on Facebook. Kim Melia.
It's self-worth.
That's 2 words.
Well, it's one word. It's got a dash in it.
No, that's awesome. That's good. Thank you. And how'd you come up with that?
Just thought about it.
Okay, we're going to introduce Kim here in a few minutes. She is full of brilliant answers, just like that one. And Benito, as you know, every show is run by sponsors, so we're going to do a quick commercial right here for our first 2 sponsors. Our first sponsor is a company that I have been a member with for 18 years. It's Legal Shield. Worry less and live more. Have you ever wanted to ask a question to an attorney but couldn't afford it? Have you ever wanted to get your will done? Did you ever get a speeding ticket? Have you ever felt like you've been screwed or mistreated in a situation? Well, that's where Legal Shield comes in. Rather than paying $200, $300, $400 an hour, what I and many people that I know have been doing for years, 45 years the company's been around, is been picking up their phone, hitting an app on their phone, and being able to get an attorney on the phone 24/7 in emergency situations. So if you know somebody locally that markets Legal Shield, get with them and get yourself protected with a Legal Shield membership. And Benito, I know that you've got a good buddy of yours that has come along as a sponsor as well. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, so I have one of my good friends. He's actually from Mexico. I've been on a couple tours with him for the sports packages he creates. And I got to tell you, anybody who's a huge sports fan, anybody who wants to go see their favorite team play, whatever stadium it is, he has a monster company that just takes people around to any stadium they want, any sporting event that they want. And, even to do with like March Madness, these huge games coming up, I recommend anybody who wants to go check it out, wants to get that full experience, whether it's tailgating, whether it's just a cool atmosphere, whether it's partying, whatever it could be. If you want to be VIP, if you want to go and check this out, because I've been on a bunch of trips with him. That's one thing. His company's called Sports eShop, and it's going to be it's just a great time. If you want to have that full experience as a fan, that's where to go. And you can contact us immediately, and just we can set you up with all the information on how to get a hold of him.
Good stuff. And, this is going to be a show about business, sports, and life, but we're going to focus a lot on sports because that's where Benito and I have common ground and stuff like that. But we've got some really cool guests lined up. One of the purposes, or I would say my main objective of my life and this show, is to inspire people to live their dreams through my books, my audios, my podcast, and my lifestyle. I write that down every day. And I'm challenging everybody right now to do this, that if you're listening, we're all in the midst of a 21-day challenge where we're challenging people to design their own life. If you don't design one, someone will design one for you. And I'm just simply challenging everybody to get a spiral notebook, one of the ones that a third grader uses, and start right at the top with the date, and then write down 10 or 15 things that you want to accomplish in your life, that you want to do in your life. Where do you want to live? Where do you want to travel? Some of you know that over the last year and a half, I've been doing this every day and have totally transformed what I already thought was a pretty cool life. And now we're doing this podcast overlooking La Jolla in a 11,000 square foot mansion that Benito and I are roommates in. And it's pretty exciting to be able to design your own life. So we'll talk more about that each and every week. This is going to be a fun show. We're going to entertain you. We're going to have some amazing guests on that share a lot of insights on how to live your life and how not to live your life and lessons that they've learned. But the common theme that we're always going to come back to is to inspire people to live their dreams. Hopefully that's okay. If it's not and you don't have any dreams or you don't like that topic, then you picked the wrong podcast to be able to listen to. But thanks for downloading it and listening so far, and we'll catch you down the road.
I want to step back and just give people a little premonition or a little idea of when we met. One of the biggest things I thought was just awesome was your tour of the 162 experience and how that all came about, how it started. And I've met a lot of sports fans. I used to work in Vegas, met thousands of people every weekend, and I have never, ever met anybody that did that many games in a row. And all that turned into a book. And maybe you could share that with the audience on how it started, why you did it, and how it came about.
Sure. Well, there was a reality show on the Yes Network, and I never actually watched the show because I didn't have the network. I only had the baseball package, so you only get to the games. You don't get all the shows in between. But I would see the commercials during the games. And it was about these four fans, one of them being Bald Vinny, who now I know and I'm good friends with, that literally went to every game. And as I sat there, I got to tell you, Benito, I was jealous, number one, as I watched it. And I would say things like, I could do that. I can afford to do that. Or I know people in every city. And so our first guest here today, who you will know as my ex-wife by the end of the show,
that's a good one. All right.
We had just been, opening day was going to be our 6-month anniversary of our separation. And it was also opening day. And so I had about a month to think about it. I had a 6-month lease on a place, and I was like, you know what, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And so I just started planning it out. I'm getting the evil eye over here. Glad this isn't on video. And, just started to do it. And once I got the buy-in from my partners, Kim and my older brother, Mike, who's my business partner with Legal Shield, it seems like the stars lined up. Our company, Legal Shield, had gone through a merger and new ownership, and so I had about 6 months there, and everything was in place, and just decided to do it. And once I started booking airfare and looking at hotels in all the different cities, it just turned out to be an amazing journey. So we'll talk more about that as we go. Benito, let's do this though. Let's get to the Final Four. Let's get to the Final Four. We don't want to spend the whole show talking about it, but why don't you We both sat last night in a bar and did our brackets. You know, we didn't look at who each other was picking until it was over. So why don't you talk about maybe your biggest upset and then who you got in the Final Four?
Final Four, guys. This is March Madness is one of the biggest times, not only in sports, but just college basketball. It's just where people get come across the country. One of the biggest spots to go to is Vegas, which we'll actually be in. Also, anywhere, websites across the country, Yahoo, CBS Sports, and all these different websites, you can pick your brackets. And it starts out with 68 teams, I believe, 68, and it goes down to 64 the first round. And each round goes to 32, Sweet 16, Elite 8. I know I have one of, I'm a big believer when coaches, you have a great coach like Tom Izzo, Bill Self, you got all these guys, Roy Williams. I love these teams that have these massive, powerful coaches, Coach K. And I think these guys, they're always winners. They're going to be in the tournament. They're going to be the big teams that are going to be at the finals. And I'm just excited. You know, we got, on Thursday and Friday that we're just going to be back-to-back games all day long. And Steve, who's one of your big upsets for the first round?
This is probably the dumbest pick in bracket history, but I got UNCW Wilmington. UNC Wilmington beating Duke in the first round, which is a 13 beating a 4. And many people know I lived in Wilmington for 8.5 years, so that's my pick.
Hey, you know, I see one of mine is the Yale over Baylor. It's a 12 versus a 5 seed. I don't think any of the big seeds, like even a 16, 15, or 14, I don't think any of those teams are going to take down 1, 2, or 3. I don't know what it is, but that's just how I'm feeling this year.
Okay, let's talk about the who you got in the Final Four.
Final Four. I have, coming out of the South bracket, I got Villanova. The West bracket, I got Duke. I really think they're going to pull through with Coach K. The East bracket, coming out of Philly, I got North Carolina and Midwest. I got Michigan State, coached by Tom Izzo and company.
Sounds good. I like it. I've got, I think, 2 of the 4 in the Final Four with you. I got Villanova. I like Cal beating Kansas. I got Cal, not that you asked me, but I got Cal upsetting Kansas, but then losing to Villanova. I think they're just going to be drained after that. I'm probably getting a little ahead of myself. And I don't know why you picked Duke, because I just told you they were going to lose to UNCW. Seahawks, go Teal! And I've got Virginia just blowing everybody out. Nobody's going to come within 20 points of Virginia until the Final Four when they play North Carolina, who's going to beat West Virginia. And then I've got the Ducks beating Oklahoma.
What was that stat about Cal you were saying earlier? How many points they were given? That was a great one. I can't remember it.
I believe they're holding their opponents to less than 44 points a game.
That's huge, man.
And I got to admit to everybody, I saw that on ESPN yesterday. I've watched like a total of 0 NCAA games this year. Isn't that what's great, though, about this time of the year? It's like you can not even really be paying attention, but this weekend and the next weekend, so much fun for sports fans. And so I am headed on a plane later today to partake in 3 of my favorite things: St. Patty's Day, the NCAA tournament, and Las Vegas, Nevada.
It's going to be rocking, baby.
Absolutely. Well, Benito, it's time. It's time to get to our first guest. This is a young lady that I first met back in September of 1998. We became business partners. We were married for 9 or 10 years. That was awesome. And we're going to throw it over to her. And first of all, Kim Melia. We're going to start off with just a fun topic. You've designed your own drink. Can you explain what your favorite drink is? And you actually have a drink named after you at a bar in Encinitas, California.
Well, hello, everybody. And I do believe that we were married for 9.5 years. That's great. And by the way, you guys are doing great so far. I've had like 3 mimosas while you guys have been doing the whole show without me. But thanks for having me as a guest today. I really appreciate it.
We're glad to have you, Kim.
Thank you. It's called an espresso martini with love. It's actually a vegan espresso martini. So if you've ever had an espresso martini, it's not made this way, I promise you. It is vanilla vodka.
So all the martinis I've been drinking are not vegan?
No, I don't think so. Well, it depends on which one you get.
Huh.
So it goes in.
I mean, she doesn't know.
Well, if it's a Cosmo, it is not. It's vegan. Never mind. Okay, so it is a shot of espresso, which is, by the way, half of the caffeine as coffee. So if you're freaked out about having too much caffeine, this is the way to drink it. So you have a shot of espresso, a shot of vanilla vodka, a shot of Kahlua, and then a little bit of chocolate sprinkled in there if you want to, or a little bit of creme de coco. And shake it up, and you gotta shake it with love, and then you pour it in, and it foams up, and then you put little sprinkles of a heart on top of it.
Of all the listeners, I can't imagine there's anybody listening that has their own drink named after them at a bar anywhere, or maybe there's a few. So what's that like? I mean, you go into a bar and they recognize you, or you just order so many of them one day they're like, hey, we put it on the menu. How did that happen?
Well, I walked into a bar and I basically asked if he knew how to make an espresso martini. He said, yeah. And I said, well, let me know how you make it. And so he told me his name is Gino. And he told me that, no, you tell me how you make it. And so he said, well, let me make it my way and I'll make it with some love. And so he proceeded to make the martini just exactly the way I wanted. And when he gave it to me, I thought he had added something to it. And I said, wow, this is the best one I've ever had. And so I said, you had to have done something different. What did you do? What did you? And then he said, all I did was I added love to it. So when I came back 2 months later...
Benito, get your mind out of the gutter, whatever you're thinking.
I went to the bar 2 months later, so I didn't go there every weekend. I just have to... Actually, maybe it was a month later. I had gone away to Guatemala for about a month, and I came back, and I saw the menu, and he said, check this out. There is your drink, and it's called Espresso Martini with Love, and I think it's pretty cool.
And they put a little heart on top, right?
Yes.
Did you say that already?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I was reading over my notes for the next question. Awesome, that's good stuff. We want to throw you a couple questions that maybe normally you don't get asked. You know, you're not a big sports fan, fair?
Fair.
But,
Hockey fan. I'm a Canadian.
Okay.
I like fighting. God's blood.
And what's your most exciting sports memory of a live event that you've attended? And don't hold back, because I know them.
Okay, well, you probably have a better memory of them because you know every single event of every time that we've ever gone together and that we haven't gone together. So the one that I think is most memorable is no holding back. Okay.
Bring it, Kim. Come on.
Well, first of all, we were married and we were living in Encinitas at the time, and my mother was visiting, and Steve was really excited because because Game 7 was happening in Phoenix, and it was Arizona versus the Yankees.
And it was November because of 9/11. The baseball season got pushed back a couple weeks. We had only been married, if you don't mind me telling the story, because I remember. We're married about a month. And the Yankees are playing Arizona in the World Series, Game 7.
So he gets really excited. He goes on eBay, or no?
Yeah, back then it was eBay, right?
eBay, and he doesn't tell me this, and he's sitting there and he's buying tickets.
I'm bidding. I'm just bidding.
Was this a wedding gift?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
It was my wedding gift to myself.
So he goes, and then all of a sudden he comes out and he said, we got to get going right now. I'm going to take your mom to the airport. My mom was leaving at like 5, and it's 10 o'clock in the morning or something crazy.
That was before Uber.
Yeah. Yeah. And I said, what do you mean? And so he's like, we got to go right now because the time changed and we got to drive there. We're going to Game 7. I got tickets first. Let's go. So I'm like, okay. So then he goes into the shower, and I said, Mom, I'm sorry that, whatever. The guy's crazy. We got to go. It sounds fun, but I got to drive you 6 hours early to the airport. Well, after that.
Well, in the shower, I realized that I forgot about the 1 hour time change.
So he freaks out, jumps out of the shower, doesn't put a towel over himself, and runs and says, Janine, this is my mom's name, Janine, we gotta go, get in the shower right now, and he's completely naked, and my mom is like, wow. Well, I don't know if she was really
no,
like,
she
wow.
was. She was like, wow. That's why you picked this guy.
Yeah, okay. So anyways, that was the first experience I guess I can remember. So then our drive there, we realized that we're actually not 1 hour.
Yeah, I had it backwards, so now we got an hour to spare. Now I got 2 hours. But we got rid of Janine, so that was good.
Sorry, Mom. And so then we went to the game, and that was pretty interesting. It was actually phenomenal.
Oh, it was one of the best games ever. Roger Clemens against Kurt Schilling.
Oh, okay.
Right. But Johnson came in to pitch the 9th inning.
Gotcha.
But what was sad is the Yankees lost.
That was sad.
It was sad for us. But the
devastating.
Arizona fans were flipping out. Like, they were freaking out.
They were rocking our car.
Let me ask you. So you're at the game. You're at Game 7 in Arizona.
My first baseball game.
No, it wasn't a first.
Oh, my first playoff game.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe first postseason.
Okay, so I know you know the events leading up to the thing, the shower, all that kind of stuff. After the game, during the game, what was your most, like, as a sports fan, I know what I like 7th inning stretch, that kind of shit, but when you were at the game, what is that you remember where you're like, oh my God, this is awesome?
I remember, if I'm correct, because I think Mariano came out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was exciting, but he lost.
It was the only.
It was exciting.
It was the only time he's ever lost. I think it was the only run he's ever given up in the postseason. I could be wrong.
So when he came out and they played Sandman, the whole song. See, I know what I'm talking about here.
And it was unearned anyway. It wasn't, It was an unearned run.
So that's what was most exciting, and just being in the environment. Like, it was crazy environment. Game 7, just
Were you fans all over the stadium?
No, not at all. There was none at all.
Not really.
No. There was very few.
Yeah. So after the game, we decided to drive home.
As soon as they started the on game celebration, we got out of there.
Yeah.
Like we took off and we walked fast, and people are booing us and yelling at us.
You have to, like, you get popcorn and beer all over.
It was crazy. It was crazy. So now we're in traffic. We're just in traffic trying to get out of there.
And we had
in traffic, or are you driving already?
We're in the car.
We're driving, but it's bumper to bumper. You're not leaving anywhere. Yeah. So there are Arizona fans running down the streets and drinking and doing crazy stuff.
And in the passenger side back window, we have a Yankee flag sticking out.
That your brother had given you.
Okay.
So
Yeah, it cost him $10. Great.
And one of the Arizona fans took it and ran away with it.
Holy shit.
And exactly. And I got a little upset about that, and so did Steve. And
well, what happened was technically he grabbed it and started waving it, right? So he took it out of the windows, grabbing it, and as he's doing that, we're in a Ford Explorer. I turn around and get out, and I'm going around, and as that happens, another guy grabs the flag and runs away. So what am I going to do? I'm going to chase the guy, and so it all happened quickly. Kim didn't see me get out of the car, so I go and I grab the guy's hat. He's got a diamond, so I grab the guy's hat. And I say, go get me my flag back, and you'll get your hat back. So with that being said, his buddies all get out. About 5 or 6 of them get out of their truck. And Kim gets out and just walks up on me against 6 guys. And then
I thought Steve needed some help. So I decided to grab a guy by the back of his head and punch him.
But she missed the first time.
I did. I missed him. So then I grabbed him harder and I punched him right in the face.
With her ring. With her new wedding ring.
With my new wedding band. And I thought my husband was going to get beat up. And,
I did too.
Which he would have, trust me.
So I looked at her and I used the F word and a couple other things.
What the F are you doing? I was like, what are you doing?
And everybody did. Everybody was just staring at her. So I politely handed the guy his hat back.
He told me to get back in the car.
Get back in the truck, please. And I said, let's call it even. And I nodded at him. We got back in. But the funniest thing is now we're in traffic with him still behind us. So we lost the flag, but we won the fight. That's that story.
It was funny though. When we just laughed our heads off because we were literally in traffic still with the people all around us. So that was my most memorable experience.
So because you're a hockey fan, that's why you like throwing punches.
Yeah, there wasn't any punches thrown, so yeah.
Okay, so let's transfer to being a crazy person to talking about your career. All right. For those of you that don't know who Kim Melia is, you are in the presence of listening to somebody that has really transformed her life. I mean, when I hear stories of how when she was a teenager, it's a little bit of a rebellion. Point she had purple hair, hung out with some crazy characters, but got involved in the network marketing industry in her early 20s, has become one of the premier leaders, not just women, but leaders in the entire industry in that area. First, let's talk about network marketing. You know, for some, it could still be a negative connotation. I think those that have been in business for many years, though, see the distribution at work and are impressed by how to make it work. Maybe you could just first of all let us know where you were at a time in your life when you first got involved in business and network marketing.
Sure. I had been working for the bank in Canada called Bank of Montreal. I was working as a customer service rep. And I have a high school education diploma. That's it. I went into college for, I don't know, a couple hours here, a couple hours there. And I didn't know what to take. So I went straight into corporate Canada. But I also had dabbled in a little bit of promotional modeling and modeling. So I had felt the little bit of the entrepreneur spirit, I guess you could say. So I was making some extra money on the side. And I knew that there was something else I wanted to do because I hated what I was doing. And so my mind was open, and I really was open to different ways of having a business opportunity. I wanted to work from home, dictate my own life, get my own paycheck, but also have freedom of time. Because I know that there's some people out there that make a significant amount of money, 6 figures more, whatever that success looks like to them, but they have no time to spend it. They're just literally working 8 to 5, or they're traveling all over the place only for work and not for pleasure.
So, Kim, let me stop you there. Just tell me, from this point forward, you got, like all of us that are involved in the network marketing industry, you got to be recruited. Someone's got to show it to you.
Right.
So tell me, from the point that you remember that you were first being recruited by somebody into something.
Okay. I was dating this guy named Chuck, and I met his uncle named Rob. And Rob had introduced me to some network marketing company that was jewelry. It was costume jewelry. I never wore any jewelry, not fake jewelry, not real jewelry. I didn't have any. So he took me to the opportunity meeting, and I didn't get it.
Did he wear jewelry?
His wedding band.
Why was this guy in the jewelry business?
He wasn't throwing any punches.
Nice one.
Did you punch anybody at the meeting?
No, come on, stop. That was only a couple times in my life I've done that. So listen, no, I hate it. So anyways, no, I didn't hate that. So anyways, I didn't get the meeting. I didn't really understand the concept of it because I didn't like jewelry. It didn't speak to me. And all I know is that Rob said something very significant to me that day. He said, Kim, I like you. And I have a feeling that I'm going to know you. I'm going to know you for a long period of time. I'm going to know you better than I know my nephew. And I thought that was kind of interesting because I didn't understand what he said. He just saw something in me that I didn't really see in myself. And so we developed a friendship. And within months after that, he introduced me to another company that was all about personal development. And so personal development isn't something that I even knew about. They didn't teach me that in high school. And I had no idea about it. And that was just started my journey really into being an entrepreneur and being a network marketer.
You know, environment and associations are something that we talk about a lot. Talk about the environment associations that you've been around, and that's how it's propelled you to success.
Well, absolutely. I mean, one of the philosophies that I learned, early off in my career is that the 5 people that you hang out with the most, you're probably going to be like them. Which means, if they have, I don't know, if their financial bank account is higher, yours will be higher. If they're more motivated and they're successful, then you're probably going to be motivated and successful. If they dress well, you're going to dress well. If they, act like this, you're going to act like that. So it's really important to hang around the 5 most important people that can get you to the purpose of what you want. And I didn't really understand that when I was growing up. I didn't hang out with the best people in the world at different times in my life. But I can tell you this, is that once I realized that, I didn't really even have any 5 people to hang out with. Honestly, I had maybe 3 or 4 at the most that I could say, hey, this is the kind of people I want to hang out with. So that's when I was introduced to reading books, listening to audios like Brian Tracy, Louise Hay, Jim Rohn, one of my favorites, Les Brown, you name it. And that's when I made those people some of my associations, which upgraded my associations.
When I first met you, you were into dragon boating, right? You had just won or you were in the midst of winning a national championship.
International.
Dragon boating?
Yeah, talk about dragon boating.
Yeah, dragon boating, Benito.
Like kayaking on steroids or what?
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. It's a 22-man canoe. Okay, and so you have 20 paddlers, and you have a drums person, so a person who beats the drum at the front with the dragon head.
So they don't actually do anything but beat a drum? They're not rowing?
No,
really?
They sit there and they beat the drum at the same beat as you stroke it.
I actually never knew that.
Great. I better watch my voice on this show. Okay, then. And then there's a person to back that's the steers person. And so you have to paddle at the same time, and sometimes you're paddling faster. And so the whole idea is teamwork makes the dream work. And so you go a certain amount of distance, and it's an old Chinese sport.
That's so interesting,
though.
So
blowing the whistle, everything at you guys?
Well, the drum is the thing that's keeping you on sync.
Kind of? Okay, I got you.
So it's the rhythm.
Yes, the total rhythm.
So people that don't have any rhythm probably wouldn't be very good at this.
No, I would say that most people who were never successful or never had the achievements in sports in high school or college are everybody that was on a dragon boat team.
Wow. So these are for people that could never succeed at any other sport. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much. It was fun though.
So I know that you talk about some of your rituals you're doing, like reading books, and that's some of the things you started doing when you became successful, or just before you became successful in network marketing. But what I want to ask you is, what do you do like every day for writing goals down? What are some things that you could tell and share with people that you do every day on a consistent basis? Sure.
Well, I think it's important that we all have some kind of ritual that we do in the morning and at night. But in the morning, I think it's prime. And so for myself, it depends on the morning, but I spend at least 30 minutes just on myself before I check my Facebook, before I check emails, before I do anything social media, before I check any text at all. I basically wake up, and it's called RPM. And it's by Deepak Chopra, and it's called Raise, Pee, Meditate. That's the first thing I do. So I raise up, I get up, I go pee, and I go back to my bed, and I meditate.
I had to think about it. I was like, is that kind of an acronym for something else?
So basically, you just go back to sleep?
No! I don't lay down, I sit up. Nice posture. I meditate for a good 10-15 minutes. Sometimes it's a little longer, depending. And there's a little ritual that I have in there. And after that, I write down at least a minimum of 3 things I'm grateful for. I send that over to my girlfriend. Been doing that for over 3 years now. So she and I have accountability with each other to make sure. So it's always great to wake up and feel grateful, than wake up and feel like, my life's on fire, or I have no idea what I'm doing, or just feeling.
Well, we become what we think about all the time.
Yeah.
You are your most dominating thoughts, and so. Kim, I think you'd agree. What most people do is they think about what sucks in their life. They wake up and they're like, I got to do this. And I find myself doing that. You wake up in the middle of the night and you remind yourself of all the stuff that you haven't done, and you got to overcome that with all these. How about affirmations? You do affirmations?
Yeah, I do affirmations. I have them in the shower, a lot of them.
Really? What do you do? Do you laminate them and then stick them up? Or?
No, I put them on the other side of the shower so they don't get wet.
Oh, you have a see-through curtain. Is that right?
I have a glass door.
You have a glass door. Is there a window close to your glass door? Like, can the neighbors see in?
Oh, I'm not going to answer that.
Anyway.
First floor?
No, second floor.
Cool.
So anyway, I do that, but I also do my goals. Right now I'm on a 21-day challenge with this brilliant guy named Kim Melia that challenged a bunch of our folks. Yeah, in our company and said, hey, for 21 days, go ahead and write down 10 to 15 things that you want. What are the 10 to 15 things that you want today? Not yesterday, not tomorrow. What do you want right now? And so I've been taking that challenge on. But in general, Steve, I have goals that I've written down. I have affirmations. The point is I at least have personal development in my life that I do for myself. First thing in the morning, I do read 10 pages of a good book a day, and I also listen to 30 minutes of audio. For affirmations this morning, I just pulled off YouTube, put in Louise Hay. Louise Hayes has like 50 minutes of affirmations, and she says them to you, and then you can say them and repeat them. It's pretty cool.
You met her a couple years ago, didn't you?
I did. She was a little drunk.
Yeah, I remember that. We were in Encinitas. I was with you.
Yeah.
Kim, if somebody was going to come up to you and ask you, like, I want to change my life, I want to do something different, give 2 examples of books of personal development where you would say, you guys need to read this or start this on your day.
Great question. Well, my first book I ever read in personal development was The Magic of Believing by Claude Bristol. And I thought it was definitely for me, that book, because I didn't really believe in myself. I had to borrow the belief from people like Rob McKenzie, who was my personal sponsor in our network marketing company, Legal Shield. So that helped me believe in myself. It has some actually crazy exercises in there that I actually participated in and did, and I still do today. So that's a great book. And then the other book is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Don't take the title too serious, right? It's really just about making friends and making a positive impact in your life. So that's 2 of my favorite books that I would recommend right away.
Cool. Overcoming adversity, overcoming stuff in your life that happens to you. We'll start with us.
Oh, wow, divorce.
Absolutely. Not only divorce, but a very public relationship. Thousands of people that we know, conventions we would go to. You can address that if you want, or just address other situations. How do you go from just being at a point in your life where shit's hitting the fan to taking it and moving on and going to the next level?
Yeah, so how did you guys deal with that? People were coming up at every meeting or whatever saying, hey, they see the issue going on. What do you do?
Well,
first of all, they didn't see the issue going on.
Or they hear about it?
No, we were very private about it until it was definitely all over for that very reason. And I'll just say that. You can answer the question.
Yeah, well, I handled it by one word completely through the whole thing was grace. And so everything I did was within grace, with that kind of feeling behind it. And so the number one thing is I didn't tell everybody. I told a select few people, and Steve and I talked about it and said that these people, people in general, not these people, anybody in general, don't need to know our crap. And but it wasn't easy because Steve did go on his 162 tour just pretty much right after that. But here's what was funny was people thought that I was such a great wife for letting my husband go away on this one.
Well, they also thought you were dating Mike.
Yeah.
If you don't know what my brother, it's just funny.
I say Steve's experience, or 162 experience, is his midlife crisis. But that's that's fair. It was
midlife
a little
crisis,
young on that point. But listen, I'm going to say something about our divorce. The first thing is for those of you out there who are not happy, or you want to be happier in your marriage or in your soon-to-be divorce or breakup, I would just say to be honest, because I think one of the best things that we did was we completely respected one another. And I think if there was any kind of disrespect or it went on too long, there could have been some disrespect. And the reason why we ended it and have such a great relationship 5 years later, a little bit longer than that, is simply because we could be honest. Honesty is one of the hardest things you can ever do, I think, just in life in general, but especially between you and your partner when you come to the realization that this is just not working out and you can just say it to each other. To me, it was the most beautiful separation or divorce. I've never been through another divorce, but a separation, I can tell you this, it was the most beautiful separation I've ever been through.
Oh, that is very sweet. And let me just say this, because Benito, just relax for a minute, okay? Take your headphones off and go for a walk. No, is number one. Number two, and we owe a lot of this to our partner, Mike, but in life in general, if you can have an unconditional love, like no matter how good or bad things are going or whatever situation, but you can have someone else's back. And, quite frankly, it can be more difficult now dating because of the relationship that Kim and I have. For instance, just a few days ago, I was conversing with a young lady, and we were talking about the possibility of dating.
From Match.com, that one?
Maybe. And she wouldn't even go out with me because in one of our first conversations, I told Kim was my best friend, and she just couldn't handle. She told me right away, there's no way I could handle that and stuff like that. So what am I going to say? Oh, we're not really that close. She's a big bitch, or the reality is that she is my best friend. She's one of my best friends. So Kim, my question to you is, who's your best friend, and how many are you allowed to have? I mean, I see people on Facebook saying they're your best friend. Who's your best friend?
I think you're saying everybody's your best friend. You're
Jeff Bell's my number one best friend.
The BFF?
Wait a second. I just thought you said I was your best friend. What about mine?
You're tied for second.
Okay. Well, anyways, I think you could have a lot of different best friends, and it's different seasons, different best friends. But one of the people that's the closest to me is my mother. So she's somebody who's always been solid and just a great friend to me. But going back, I got Charlotte Patrick, who's just amazing. But yourself and your brother Mike, my business partner, absolutely two people that I can definitely always know that if I were in any kind of challenges, any struggles in my life, that you guys have my back, and especially through this divorce. I mean, we had each other's back. There's a lot of things that people said about us to one another, try to convince us of different things of what they heard or the stuff that happened in the past while we were broken up, and people said a lot of stuff. But here's what I know today is that the unconditional love, like you said, that we have for each other, isn't something that I think happens between, never mind exes, right, or partners, just people in general in life today.
Good stuff. Benito, if you have any questions, feel free to intercede. Self-talk. How do you talk to yourself? I think that's one of the toughest things is the internal conversations that we have going on all the time. How do you combat that? Dr. Phil talks about the tapes that are playing in your head. How do you get those tapes to inspire you rather than to take you down like for most people?
Well, I think it takes time. I think it's consistency. I think you do this. It's not something that you do once. It's not something that you do for 30 days. It's something that you implement into your life on a daily basis, because the negative thoughts that happen in your head on an ongoing basis, every minute, every hour, every second, honestly, is just horrible what we tell ourselves. And so we constantly have to be changing that. And that's one of the reasons why personal development is such a great thing, spiritual development, whatever you want to call it, that you're active in. But again, I mean, we used to have something called midget, right? So when we said something, so in other words, if I said...
Can I give the background on that?
Yeah.
There was a guy that we used to listen to. It was a sports psychologist. His name was Dr. Mitchell Perry. And he would talk about focus on only what you want, never what you don't want. So if we're playing pool, for instance, if Mike and I were playing pool, right before he would line up and bend down and hit a shot, I would say, don't miss it. And so his mind would think, miss it. Or a golfer is about to swing and he thinks, don't hit it in the water, whatever you do, and it goes in the water, because that's what his mind focuses on, water, not don't. So we started coming up with midget, like, instead of saying to somebody, don't be late, I hate when people say stuff like, hey, be on time.
And it's just a slight thing, but the don't is in your subconscious, right, and in your conscious, and that's what it says. It's everything. Is everything that's negative. So every time I hear the don't, or somebody says, don't eat this, or don't do that, or don't, or whatever it might be, try to say it in a more positive way, and we just say mitch it. And so that's just, again, that's something that happens over time, constantly, that you're thinking about it.
Awesome.
That's an interesting thing. I never heard about that. Kim, I know a lot of people look up to you as a huge leader in your profession. If you were going to write a book, what would you call that book? Or if you were going to say, what would be the premise behind that whole thing? Where would you guide people on what to do?
Well, the book would be called Work, Play, Love, which happens to be the name of our nonprofit organization.
Well, that was a good lead-in, shameless plug there. She's like, I don't think they're getting to it. Time is ticking down. I am going to talk about my foundation.
It's a nonprofit, workplaylove.org, but it would be on giving. So, if you want to get out of life, anything substantial, I think, is to be in the giving spirit, and to realize that not just giving your money or things, but most of all giving your time.
That's pretty awesome. Teamwork makes the dream work. As I look around, I see Robert, who is our sound tech / producer, and I know the value of a good team. Bernito and I were woke up this morning early to go to the grocery store so we could buy champagne.
You guys do a lot together.
we do everything together.
Very
but
interesting.
we were listening to an audio tape, and they're talking about identifying what your weaknesses are and your strengths are. The most part, your weaknesses are so you could find other people in your life that complement you to make up for your weaknesses. So maybe just talk about that phrase, teamwork makes the dream work.
Well, I believe that if you can work on your strengths rather than your weaknesses and have people join your team that are your weaknesses, so that obviously helps your strength, right? I think that I was in Orange Theory Fitness, one of my favorite exercises to do these days, OTF. The coach said to me, or said to all of us before class, she said, go fast, go alone, and go far, go together. And I thought that was actually really brilliant because it is teamwork makes a dream work. And to be able to do anything successful for a long period of time, no matter what you do, even if you're a golfer and you're by yourself, even if you're a tennis player and you play it by yourself, there's a team behind that person. There's always somebody behind it or on the sidelines to them that are helping them out. So
that's interesting, though. But I guess a champion, at the beginning when you're doing stuff, aren't you really by yourself until you find other people that are the same?
Well, I think no. I mean, for myself, I'm not considered a champion or a rock star or anything, but I had people who still supported me and believed in me. So that's what I mean. Sometimes it's just that person who believes in you. I think that's part of teamwork. But I get what you're saying. I mean, it is if it's to be, it's up to me, and you take 100% responsibility for your life. So, but I think the more that you can surround yourself with people that are better than you, or in other words, have strengths that you don't have, the better off you're going to be. And
you're part of why don't you talk about the mastermind group that you're a part of? Because I think people talk about it, but you actually, that's one of the things I respect about you is you get things done. Your mastermind group, but also talk about the word procrastination. Mm-hmm. You're somebody that you're the opposite of procrastination. You're always coming up to me with a list of things. Hey, let's talk. I got some things on my plate. Talk about that.
Well, definitely. First of all, the mastermind group is a brilliant thing, and it's not something that I came out with. It's in Think and Grow Rich to surround yourself with like-minded people going in a like-minded direction. But it's also good to surround yourself with powerful, and for myself, it was powerful women that all have different businesses that we can also talk about and give ideas to one another. Because sometimes if you're always talking to the people in your same business and that's all you talk to, you don't get another perspective, or you don't really see a different idea out there. So just being with these amazing women, we spend one day a month. We spend 6 hours a day with each other, and we just basically are a think tank, and we find out what's your challenges and what's your struggles, or what revenue do you want to make this month, and what's your goal, or what challenged you last month, but what did you commit to and what did you do? So that's amazing. Procrastination, I can tell you one thing right now, is that's not what I'm at, because if you procrastinate, then you're just going to have a whole bunch of work to do that you don't want to do in the future. So I always, eat that frog. Eat the biggest thing that you need to eat in the morning. In other words, do the biggest thing that you need to do in the morning. Cross that off your list. Does it happen every day for me? Do I sometimes do the last thing on the list because it's the easiest? Yeah. But every day I think to myself, you know what? Get it done so you can later on have fun. I mean, I like to work, play, love. I like to work a little, play a lot, and love a lot. So
let's be. We've only got a few minutes left, so I want to talk about that. And Benito, if you have any follow-up questions, but let's talk about your foundation. If you want to go way back, you can, to what inspired you to start it. Talk about your foundation and how it works right now, because I think so many people out there want to give back, but they don't have the time, don't have the money, and they just don't get started. We were volunteering. We started small, even before maybe we had the money or the platform to attract other people. We were at homeless shelters, during the holidays, giving out food and just doing whatever we could.
Yeah, we taught the Boys and Girls Club of America and taught the Success for Teens program for a couple of years. Previous to that, I did stuff in Canada. I worked at and volunteered at a suicide hotline where people would call in and obviously be not in a good spot, and we'd talk them off the ledge. So I've been doing work like that for a long time. So I've always wanted to impact young children and just make them know that they, first of all, are loved unconditionally and that they are important in the world no matter what happened to them, whatever their parents did or whatever their parents didn't do. So I wanted to make an impact because I have my biological father is just not a good guy. And so with that being said, we have evolved in the way we actually started Work, Play, Love. Our Melia Foundation, which it was called at first, was a friend of ours in Legal Shield was diagnosed with cancer, and although he made great money to be able to help himself out, it still cancer treatment takes a lot. So we ran a fundraiser for him, and we raised a lot of money in a really short period of time. I think it was $25,000 that night. wasn't it?
Yeah, 50 between 2 events we did.
It was amazing, and we had never done anything like that before, but it impacted us, and unfortunately David Secchi had passed away, but the money that we raised helped his wife out for the expenses of the funeral and other things, and so we kind of progressed in then, but we always wanted to go down to the common person, or the person that was going to be impacted the most, which was kids. And we found that when we were doing work for the Boys and Girls Club, Make-A-Wish Foundation, and stuff like that, it's great and all, but when you're asking for money from the same similar people, the same social network, and you don't see the work that can be done, it's hard to ask for money again to consistently do that. So we found another nonprofit organization Mike did. He was actually on an airplane, and this gentleman was wearing a bunch of pulseras, a bunch of bracelets, a lot of them, and Mike said, "What do you do?" And he said, "I support an orphanage in Guatemala." Mike said, "Show me or tell me more." Then Mike struck a check for $1,000, and he wanted to see what they would do with it. And he got a bunch of pictures back of all these great kids wearing new clothes and having all these stuffed animals and toys. And so he showed us a video sent of this other nonprofit. We kind of interviewed the lady, and then we went on an airplane ride to Guatemala with our niece and nephew at the time. And we basically went there to check it out and see if it was true at this boys' orphanage, and it definitely was true, and we taped it. As a matter of fact, Mike's daughter, Kim Melia, just graduated from NYU Film School, and so she did a documentary kind of on it for about 5 minutes. She pulled that out after the trip, and it was just an amazing trip, and it was just really eye-opening experience. And so Danny went ahead and made up a video just under 5 minutes. I think it was about 4 minutes long. And they wanted to actually, they wanted a new van, but they really wanted to build a girls' orphanage right beside the boys' orphanage. They had had the land for over 10 years that was given to them, and the girls were taken away from their brothers. And so basically what happened is we asked them what they wanted, and they said to us, "We want an orphanage." And then we said, "How much is it?" And they said $72,000. And Steve said, "Okay, we'll raise that." And we had never raised any more than $25,000 in a year, and we didn't know how we'd do that. But with that video, it basically went on social media, and through our social network, it exploded. With people doing fundraisers all across North America. The Canadians, did a great job with that. And we raised $72,000 in 9 days, and we were able to build an orphanage.
Yeah, and the one interesting business lesson on that is we had a video, a third-party tool that we could show people, that we could, it's one thing to tell people, it's another thing to watch this video. And then for us, it was the emotion of being down there. We were able to come back and share. And we actually seen an episode of American Idol where they were raising money in Africa, and two of the people, I think it was Simon and Randy, maybe were not there, but Ryan
Seacrest.
Yeah, Ryan Seacrest and Paula were there, and they were like emotional. They were crying when they were showing the video of Africa. And Simon was just normal, tough self and stuff. But that, to me, that represented the difference. And we were watching that American Idol episode, and that's when we decided to go down to Guatemala. But the other thing that I just want to draw from your lesson there was David Secchi. Here's a guy that passed away. I think it's been 12 years ago now. And David was a guy that when he walked in a room, he was the definition of you either light up a room or you dim a room. And this guy was like, his hair was always messed up and his tie was crooked, but he was the most excited person, and his enthusiasm was contagious. And so we got a chance to spend some time with him the last few months and the last few weeks of his life, and he inspired us. And so David and just everybody in the world that's listening, know that everything that you do makes a difference, and the work that David did continues to inspire us we've got kids in Guatemala that are in college now that we've been working with the program for several years. So thanks for the work that you do.
Yeah, and what I would just say about that too, Steve, is I think one of the best things about this project is that we're taking people on, and I wouldn't call them mission trips, I would call them work, play, love trips. And it's just be able to spend the time, because I think it's one thing, again, to have the money behind it and to be able to support something, which I think is great, but it's really, really awesome to spend the time. And I'm blessed because of Legal Shield as my vehicle, my financial vehicle. I was blessed to be able to spend 3 to 4 months in the last couple of years in Guatemala, not just with the kids, but my mom lived there for a while. So just to be able to have that kind of lifestyle and give back and be a part of something that's bigger than yourself is awesome.
Kim, if there's people out there that are wondering, I have a small business, or I want to start a business or grow my existing business, what are a couple thoughts you have to say to them to inspire them and to keep going?
Well, first of all, yeah, the number one thing is from belief, believing that you can do it. So I would say, if you don't believe in yourself, get the books and audios and work on yourself harder than you work on your business. And that sometimes people don't get, because you're like, what, you don't want me to make 50 calls a day? You want me to sit there and read 50 books a day? Not really. I just want you to have a practice that you can go to every day, that you can work on yourself and constantly be working on yourself, because you attract who you are. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. So the more that you can work on yourself, the more belief that you can have in yourself, the more belief you have in your industry, your product, your service, and the people around you, the more that you're going to be successful.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Benito, I got to, one of the things that I was going to say attracted me to you, but that's probably the wrong use of words.
I know you had a couple of months.
Yeah, I know. It's only 10 o'clock in the morning here. One of the things that I've admired about you, again, might not be the is you're a great interviewer. I mean, the minute I met you, I was actually, we hadn't even met yet, but I was listening to you talk to this couple. It's this older couple that come to all the Padres games. You know who they are. They travel out of town, and they were talking to you about you doing like video casts and your sports things. So one of the reasons that I really initially wanted to do this podcast with you is you're great with people and such like that. So it's been a real pleasure running this first show with you. Any final thoughts? I know for both of us, this has been a dream come true. But as we wrap up our very first episode, any final thoughts from you?
Well, I appreciate that, and I think this show is going to be awesome. I mean, we just had a great interview with Kim Melia about entrepreneurship, about how to grow in your business. I really personally think that's one of the best things that I want to be around, those kind of people, entrepreneurs. And you know what? If we can bring all those people that have a great story about how they built their company, not only if they're sports fans, but if we can bring all that together and create an awesome community where we help people become more of what they are and what they want to do, and to bring more to the community, I think it's going to be a great thing. And I'm just pumped for this show, man. So I think the first show's great. I'm ready for some March Madness. I'm ready for some.
Yeah, I'm ready for Vegas, baby. I'm ready for Vegas. My flight's in 3 hours. Kim Melia, final question to you. You're sitting across from yourself at age 17 with your purple hair, your mohawk, whatever you had going on there, and you we know too much about each other, and you're going to give yourself advice, knowing what you know several years later as a very successful woman that's highly sought after, a woman who's, I believe, your future is brighter than your past. What advice would you give yourself at age 17?
I would say, Kim, that you are worthy of success. Kim, that you deserve unconditional love, and that you can be anybody and anything that you want to do, that you can change the world by just being you and by impacting one life, and that ripple effect that can happen.
Okay, well, it's a wrap. The 162 Experience. You've listened to our first episode, Work, Play, Love with Kim Melia. Steve Melia, and closing out.
Guys, it's Benito. We will be back soon and let you know where we are. We'll be hosting this show online.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
See ya.
Peace out.
Namaste.